Alright, so I was wondering, what actually is the best martial art in mixed martial arts? To answer this question, we need to figure out which martial arts are actually main martial arts in mixed martial arts. Now, to answer this question, we need to think of what are like the four main martial arts. And when you think of the four main martial arts, the first four that come to my mind are boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and jujitsu. Now it is hard to tell which is the best martial art because let's say you have a boxer with zero wrestling experience, a wrestler could just eat the boxer up. So we need to lay out some ground rules. We're gonna say this where every martial artist has a decent amount of experience with every other martial art. For example, a wrestler is gonna have a decent amount of experience in jujitsu, boxing, and kickboxing, being able to defend submissions, defend kicks, and defend the boxing, but being a primary wrestler. A good example of this would be Bo Nickel, but I feel like Bo Nickel is way more elite in his striking and jujitsu than the regular wrestler, which is a bit of experience in mixed martial arts. For the boxer and kickboxer, the boxer can be able to defend takedowns decently, have decent kicks, and be able to defend decent kicks, and also have some submissions and be able to defend submissions. So with those ground rules set, let's get into what's the best. To start off, we have the boxer. The boxer is just hand-to-hand combat at its finest. Being able to throw good hands, having good punches. Being able to throw good punches is very important. If you see a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, having boxing can really overpower a kickboxer. You see some good kickboxers with good boxing like Alex Pereira, but you'll see some boxers just like Jack Della Maddalena who are just able to just overpower kickboxing with their boxing. If you really have the boxing experience enough, like Della Maddalena, which I brought up so many times, but if you have that kind of boxing experience and are able to actually throw hands, then you might be a very, very good mixed martial artist. It's a great base for martial arts. The only downsides is the inability to defend kicks, but since we're talking about mixed martial arts, their kick defense will be decent, but not great. Also, a wrestler can still take down the boxer. A straight up boxer could not beat a wrestler, or a kickboxer really, or a jiu-jitsu fighter. But when it comes to mixed martial arts, a boxer can be very, very good. Next up, we have kickboxing. Where do you start with kickboxing? The ability to throw hands and kicks while being able to defend takedowns is absolutely great. Or throwing head kicks with a perfect setup can be an ability, unlike any other. To be able to cripple somebody with leg kicks, or just take the breath out of your opponent with shots to the body from kicks and punches, is an ability that really none of these other martial artists have. Kickboxing is amazing if you have the right kickboxer. Somebody like Edson Barbosa with a Muay Thai style kickboxing is absolutely great. That's why I think that kickboxing is just amazing. But let's get into wrestling, the best base for martial arts it seems. The thing about wrestling is the hip movement you're able to get with wrestling, which really moves into boxing, be able to move your hips into your punches or your kicks really. And the wrestler already has the ground experience to learn jiu-jitsu at a higher level than a boxer or kickboxer can. With the ability to make your opponent scared of the takedown and be able to move your hips into these punches to get max power. Look at a guy like Usman who has one-shot knockout power as you've seen in the Masvidal fight. That's straight up just from the wrestling experience he has. Being able to move your hips like that really is a good treat. So it's easier for a wrestler to become a striker than somebody like a jiu-jitsu artist. So the wrestler has great abilities with the threat of the takedown and the hip movement to get max power into punches. Plus the wrestling is always a factor. A good wrestler is able to shoot takedowns and get people down and keep them down. It's going to have great ground and pound to be able to set up submissions on somebody who doesn't have the jiu-jitsu experience. And lastly, we have the jiu-jitsu artist. If you have somebody who's just so good at jiu-jitsu like Charles Oliveira or Damian Maia, it can really be better than wrestling sometimes. Look at what Charles Oliveira is doing. He's an excellent striker, and he has the threat of the takedown with his knockdowns from his power. Having the ability to be able to fight off your back is like none other. Being able to get taken down and still be able to have a fight off your back and possibly win the fight just like that. Threat of submission sometimes is one of the biggest threats in MMA. The only thing is that it's harder for a jiu-jitsu artist to become a striker than any other martial art. So with the inability really to become a good striker, it can be harder for some jiu-jitsu fighters to really start getting into MMA and to try to fight fight in a jiu-jitsu match and always lose, or get smothered by the opponent or wrestler on top. So we've gone over the martial arts, and you've heard it everywhere, but wrestling still is the best martial art. The ability to move your hips with the ability of wrestling and the takedown threat is unlike any other. But boxing is really becoming a good martial art and can be taking over soon with fighters like Piotr Jan and Jack Della Maddalena showing that boxing is really good. But that's all for today's video. We went over every martial art. You guys have anything that you guys want to say in the comments, let me know.